Today is the day. My name is Mike, and I like to challenge myself. I'm the kind of person who always has a project on the go, from cosmetic projects like painting or vinyl wrapping, to electrical projects, mechanical projects, home improvements, woodworking, basically anything DIY. A few years ago, I even built my own fish tank, completely from scratch. But my real passion is cars, and around 18 months ago, I unknowingly took on one of the most challenging projects of my life. That, coupled with some big things that happened in my life over the past year, have led me to realise something, and I'll touch on that at the end of this video. So back in June 2021, I revealed my 2014 Ford Fiesta 1.0L EcoBoost, which I purchased crash damaged from the internet's favourite salvage auction, Copart. The plan was for the MK7 to be a cheap daily runabout while still being fun to drive. What on the face of it looked like some very minor cosmetic damage turned out to have caused some pretty serious engine damage. While trying to diagnose the non-start issue, I found that the car had low compression caused by a major leak to the cooling system. A broken fitting on the auxiliary water pump as a result of the accident caused the car to overheat, damaging the head gasket and, as I found out later on, warping the cylinder head. At this point, I had two options: to repair the engine or replace it. So while I figured that out, Ash and I set about removing the little three-banger from my new, very expensive driveway ornament. With the engine removed from the car, I stripped it down to reveal the extent of the damage. I sent the head away to be skimmed and pressure tested, and once that was done, I committed to rebuilding the engine and started gathering all the parts that I needed. I rebuilt the cylinder head, fitted a new head gasket as well as a new timing belt, and slowly but surely reassembled the engine and fitted it back into the car. Well, that's the short version anyway. It's taken a long time and even more effort, but I've learned so much rebuilding this engine. What started out as one of the most daunting tasks I've ever taken on turned into the most rewarding project of my life. So many people told me not to even attempt to fix this car, but that brings us up to today, where we find out if it was all worth it. I filled the engine with the recommended Castrol oil and filled the cooling system with deionized water. I reinstalled the battery, pulled the fuel pump fuse and cranked the engine a few times to try and build up some oil pressure. Then I reinstalled the fuse, and with the fire extinguisher standing by, I primed the fuel pump a few times and it was time to turn the key. Wants to go. Right, hang on. I have to get in. There's no seats. Yes! Come on!
Hey. Oh, well done, mate. Well done.
Oh my god. Oh, right.
Congratulations, mate.
So the engine actually runs, which is amazing. But the story doesn't end there. Okay, so there we go. The engine actually runs, and that is such a result. I'm so excited. Now, obviously, you probably heard it runs rough as hell at the moment, but there's any number of reasons why that could be. One thing I'm thinking, it could be to do with the fuel. There's hardly any fuel in it. It's been sat for a long time. So that could be one thing, because you don't want like moisture to build up in your fuel tank, which can happen if you leave it low. I've tried to fill it up with a jerry can just down there, but these have got an anti-siphon thing in the filler neck, so I can't just pour it in that way. You need a little funnel, which is meant to come with all the tools and that, like with the jack and everything in the boot. This car didn't come with that, just my luck, but hopefully, I think I've got a friend who's got one that I might be able to borrow off, so I'm going to drop him a message and see. So fingers crossed on that one, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the car in, and I'm just going to see if there's any trouble codes in there, any error codes that might give me some sort of indication as to why it's running a little bit rough. So fingers crossed we can figure it out. And in the spirit of Christmas, it's probably a good time for me to tell you about a little gift I received a little while ago from the helpful guys over at TopDon. If you remember, TopDon sorted me out with their portable jump starter kit a little while ago, which works fantastically, and you might have seen it in the background of the video. I did just have it on this battery because it wasn't quite fully charged up when it started, but that's all good now. But they've also sent me out this, which is their RT-Link 400 OBD2 scanner, and I'm really excited to try this out because for its price point, it's got a lot of great features, which I feel like are going to set it well ahead of some of the other scanners in its price range. It reads generic codes as well as manufacturer-specific codes and can display freeze frames as well as live data streams. It has a 2.4-inch full-color screen which can display graphical data and a connector which features a handy built-in LED light. It also tests O2 sensors, evap systems, and has a one-touch IM readiness function to help with emissions testing. And to top it all off, the RT-Link 400 can be updated for free via TopDon's website. Thanks TopDon for hooking me up. Now let's see if we've got any codes. So let's get this plugged in and see if it can give us any clues as to why the car is running a little bit rough. Now ignore this light because a lot of cars aren't going to have a light under here, but how many times do you find yourself reaching around under here trying to bend under and see up in the dark trying to find your OBD2 port? But with the TopDon scanner, the plug actually has a built-in LED light so that you can shine that up underneath and find your port nice and easily. So that straight off the bat is a winner for me. Now the port is actually in here. There we go. You can just see it up in there. How good is that? So let's get it plugged in. Let's see what we get. And that screen is really good, especially for, like I say, one of the entry-level scanners, especially in this price point. There's an awful lot of controls on here as well. Like sometimes you only get a couple of buttons. This can do live data and everything, so I think this is going to be a really good bit of kit. So we've got 2 DTCs, so trouble codes. Okay. So let's read codes. Oh, we've got 5, it's saying on here. Turbocharger, supercharger, boost sensor A, circuit high. Okay. It's number 2. Charge air cooler temperature sensor high, bank 1. Intake air temperature sensor 1, circuit high. I did have the MAF sensor unplugged a minute ago. Now that's the same as the first code we got. Turbocharger, supercharger, boost sensor. And then charge air again. So we've got 2 of the codes twice. But those 2 and then the first 2, which are like duplicates, are both related to boost sensor and charge air cooler temperature sensor. Now I'm pretty sure I plugged in everything, but I'm just going to go over everything and double check, make sure I haven't like missed to plug in a sensor or it's just not plugged in all the way. Now it does seem weird that we're getting duplicate codes. So like 2 of those codes that we saw in there, we've got twice. But one thing I'm thinking on that, a reason that might be, is sometimes sensor circuits like that will have some sort of redundancy whereby actually there's 2 sensors in there, or it takes 2 different measurements of the same value, and if there's a discrepancy between the 2, so that kind of tells you that it might not be the thing that it's reading is wrong, like it's getting a bad reading. It might just be that one of the sensors is actually faulty. I think that's potentially a reason why that might have come up twice for those 2 codes, but I'm not 100% sure. But another thing I'm thinking is the boost pressure sensor and the charge air temperature sensor could actually all be integrated into one sensor, and I have a feeling it's this sensor right here, I believe. Now looking at the rest of the intake piping, so I mean here's the turbocharger, so here's, I mean the charge air I assume is going to come, no, charge air will come out of the turbocharger through the intercooler. So this is the intercooler piping. So yeah, that is, oh, what side is that? Yeah, so the lower hose, which comes straight out of the turbo, that's our hot side. It goes into the bottom of the intercooler, and then this pipe coming back out is our cold side, which goes to the intake manifold. So that would make sense that if that was our sensor, boost pressure, as far as I know, boost pressure sensors are normally on the inlet manifold, but there is a chance it could come off this sensor as well. Yeah. And if you look really closely, we've got a broken wire there. Fingers crossed, it could be that simple. So I'm going to fix this. I'm just going to patch it up for now. And then we're going to clear the codes and we're going to try and run this car again. So fingers crossed we've got an easy fix here. So I'm stripping back both ends of the broken wire and I'm just reconnecting it using one of these chocolate block connectors. They're not ideal, but it'll do as a temporary fix just while I troubleshoot this. So I'm clearing all the codes and then I'm going to run the engine and just check if any of the codes come back. Okay, so it still sounds quite rough, so I don't really think that's done anything. I'm going to plug it in again and just see if the codes have come back, but I don't know. There was no light on the dashboard this time. The engine management light didn't come on and none of that. So I think we've solved that, but it's still running a bit rough. So that's kind of disappointing, but who knows? Like I say, it could be something to do with the fuel or something else. So I'll do a bit more digging, but that's probably going to do it for tonight. So I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Okay, it is a new day. I've picked up some fuel and I've also managed to borrow one of these little funnels for the filler neck off my good friend Luke. Now, just quickly before we go and put fuel in the car, one thing I want to touch on, guys, one thing I've always said is please support the people that support the channel. My friend Luke is also a content creator. He makes music, he's got his own YouTube channel and he's on some other platforms as well. So I'm going to leave a link to his channel down in the description. If you could go and check him out, drop him a subscribe and just check out some of his music, that would mean a lot to me and I know it would mean a lot to him. Likewise, I'm going to leave a link to Top Don's website down in the description as well as links to the products that they've hooked me up with over the past few months. They've got an Instagram page as well, so if you could please go and drop them a follow, like some of their posts and drop a comment and let them know that you've come from the channel because it would mean a hell of a lot to me and I know they'll notice the interaction and that you've come from watching my videos. Like I said, support the people who support the channel. Right, let's get some fresh fuel in the car. You know what, the car's actually running so much better now I've put some decent fuel in it, and to be honest, I've listened back to some of the footage of when I first started it up and it did take a little while to get going, but I'm wondering if that was just because of the old bad fuel in there, because actually on camera it didn't sound as bad as it did in person. I think it's just really loud because of the exhaust. There's a horrible exhaust on this, I believe. It just sounds horrible, but you know what, I actually don't think it runs too bad. There's a couple of little things. The engine seems to shake quite a bit, and also I'm noticing there's a little bit of steam coming off the turbo. I don't think it's smoke, it doesn't smell smoky, but there seems to be quite a bit of steam coming off the turbo once that starts to heat up, and I don't know if that's normal or not. One thing I do really want to check is there's actually coolant circulating, because obviously I replaced that pump and I did use a second-hand pump, but I need to make sure that works. So there's a few things I need to go over, but for now I'm actually really happy with how this engine is running. It doesn't sound anywhere near as bad as it did originally, so I think that fuel has really made a difference. I don't think we're completely out of the woods yet, and there's a couple of other bits I need to do before I can actually try and drive this thing. I do need to do a clutch. I can't bleed the clutch at all. I think the slave cylinder is shot, so that's one thing I definitely need to do. But for today and for this video, that is as far as I'm going to go with it. So there's still work to do, but the engine runs and I'm so proud of that. I've learned so much and stepped so far out of my comfort zone when I took this on. And just to remind you, I'm not a mechanic, but in the last year, I landed my dream job, which does involve working with cars. That has presented its own challenges, and it's led me to realise that if it was easy, it wouldn't be fun. And that's going to be the new tagline for my channel. I'd like to thank all of you for your support, and I hope you had a great Christmas, and I wish you all the very best for 2023. Thank you for watching, and if you hit that subscribe button, I'll see you in the new year.